So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Welcome to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth with Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno, a show about mindset from two New Jersey attorneys. Dave, it's kind of crazy. This is what we do. We always have great guests. We're getting great reviews, but I love it because they're in the same space that we've always been in, talking about mindset, and we got another awesome guest, Dave.
Yeah, Amy Lacey. And the show, Mindset, Wellness, perfect guest today. She is a visionary entrepreneur who transformed her lupus diagnosis into a catalyst for innovation by creating Cauliflower Foods and the first cauliflower pizza crust. She exited that business and is now revolutionizing wellness again with Beyond Medicine. Her journey from health challenges to business triumph makes her a powerful voice on resilience, forgiveness, and entrepreneurial success. Welcome, Amy, to Nothing But the Truth. Thank you for taking part in our show.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm honored. This is so much fun. This is great.
Yeah, so let me jump right in, Amy. We were talking before we went on air that I had a diagnosis some years ago of lupus that turned out to be a misdiagnosis. And actually, there's a whole story in and of itself. But I learned a lot. The 2 months that it took me to get to a rheumatologist, and I guess they do a lot of this by what it's not in your blood work as opposed to what it is and the symptoms you have. And it turned out not to be. But I learned a lot, and so I understand what a challenge it is, a life-altering challenge. But the fact that you're turning that around into the resiliency that you have is amazing. So I'd like you to tell us about that story, but also something that I have been really trying hard to do and finding very difficult, and I think it's in your space. I've been trying to eat better. I've been trying to eat more healthy. I've been trying to stay away from crap and plastics, but there is so much information out there that, just yesterday I saw somebody talk about eating broccoli. You should never eat broccoli again, and here's why. Where do we go to get the information to get healthy?
All right. Well, I'll start with that question because I think that is such a hot topic right now on social media. Everywhere you look, you're seeing, the FDA being called out for things. Well, one of the things I will say is the FDA, and you can Google it, it's very readily available. They allow us food manufacturers a 20% variance on our labels and what we claim. Wow. So big brands, there's 11 brands that consume 70% of the grocery store. And those big names like Pepsi and Kellogg's, they're taking advantage of that. So my advice has always been look at the founder behind the product. So Siete just sold to Pepsi, hasn't gone through yet, but it's supposed to go through in March for over $1 billion. Many shows I've done with the family, Siete Foods, great company, great family. The founder had an autoimmune issue. That's why she came up with that product. So my advice is look at the ingredients, yes, and just calculate in your head that it probably has 20% more, whatever those ingredients you don't want in there, sugar, hydrogenated oils, whatever it is, seed oils. And then also look at the founder. So if it's somebody like myself and we have a story behind it, chances are it's probably a really good product. I know mine was. Mine is. But like Siete Foods, I'll use that as an example. They were in the news. That's a hot topic. They're exiting for over $1 billion. They are using really good quality foods. And if Pepsi doesn't jack it up, it's going to be a great food when Pepsi owns it as well, or foods. They own multiple different kinds of foods. But the story behind it, the reason why she created it is so powerful. So it's healthy. So that's one of my advice on that. As far as my story goes, I was the first cauliflower pizza crust to hit the market when there was just a head of cauliflower in the grocery store. So you can imagine I had a lot of no's, and I always think of no as next opportunity. I just keep persevering through those. But it was never created as a business. It was created because it's a very long story and we don't have enough time, but I'll just tell you, I grew up with a single mom, and for a while I was in foster care, and ultimately I landed in a really good place. But when I got married and God granted me an amazing family, I have 3 kids, been married 27 years. I really wanted family traditions, things created that I didn't have. I didn't we didn't have any, like, I don't remember my mom reading a story to me even. So I created this Friday family fun night, which was pizza and board games. Highly recommend, doing this with your family. And the pizza usually was Domino's or some kind of yucky pizza. And one Saturday morning, October 31st, 2015, actually, I couldn't get out of bed and my autoimmune had just attacked me. And so I went looking for a recipe where I could eat pizza again and I could really help my family eat healthier. And I found the cauliflower pizza crust recipe online and we perfected it, took it to farmer's market, mainly just so my kids could learn how to talk to adults. And we had a fun little family business. But it went viral on Facebook. We shared a testimonial. It went viral. And I ended up having a business. I ended up selling in January of 2017, sold more in that month off that story on Facebook using Donald Miller's story brand. So for your listeners out there, there is a book he wrote. Basically, it's, instead of talking about just your product, talking about the success stories that other people have using your product. So I told a story about a severely autistic girl and her mom, which was a single mom. We had been sending pizzas to her. Her name was Jessie. And sitting down eating with Kenzie, because that's the only way Kenzie would eat, she lost 90 pounds eating our pizza crust twice a day, along with other foods. But the doctor had put her on low carb for her autism. She became verbal. We shared that story. It went viral, and we sold more in 1 month than we had the entire year in 2016. And then we were off to the races. It just blew up after that. So that was never intended to be anything more than to basically serve the person I once was. And I often tell other coaches that, like, if you're looking for something to be passionate about and to start a business, serve the person you once were. So I was a very sick person, lupus and Sjogren's, still have active Sjogren's. I'm curious because everybody, they go and they get their blood work done and it pops up they're positive. But in order to be positive with lupus or any autoimmune condition, you have to have these symptoms, whatever they might be, rashes, inflammation, body aches, plus positive blood work. So if you don't have both symptoms and positive blood work, it's probably a false diagnosis. Wow. Which maybe that's what happened to you.
Mm-hmm. Amy, on this show and the years that we've been doing it, we hear so often about victor versus victim mindset. Right. And really, when I hear your story about not being able to move, you had a decision to make. You could have been the victim or the victor, and you chose victor. Get up off that bed, get the help you need, and create a product. Can you tell us about that phase, that mindset, and how you peeled yourself up off that bed?
Yeah, I wish I could say that it was just that simple, but I literally spent some time being about 9 months feeling sorry for myself, being very, very depressed, on all kinds of medications, steroids, which keep you awake at night. So I wasn't sleeping. Plaquenil, which was the drug that everybody talked about during COVID, and then antidepressants like Wellbutrin, and then a water pill. So I did get really depressed. I did feel sorry for myself for a while. And then one day I was just like, look, the side effects of these are worse than the actual condition. I need to figure out a way to get off these medications. And I believe food can be medicine. And I still believe that today. Even though in the USA, we struggle with what ingredients we allow in our food. But I did use food as medicine. I got off all of my medications. I had lost a bunch of weight. And I was feeling really, really good. And so, yeah, that mindset for me, what really turned me around was I started having people like Jessie reaching out to me for the cauliflower pizza crust and telling me their success stories, like diabetics could eat pizza again. And when you serve other people, it's like you get out of your way and you're no longer depressed. And then the other thing that I was able to do was really go into a deep dive on forgiveness, forgive my mom. It turns out, and I didn't learn this for many years later, it turns out the trauma I experienced as a child and a teenager is probably what manifested itself into the illness that I have. Because if you don't take care of your trauma and you bury it, which is what I did, you just bury that trauma and you don't deal with it, it will manifest eventually into some kind of illness. Your body will eventually attack itself because you haven't dealt with that. So I learned that. I learned about forgiveness and the power of that. I learned about serving the person I once was. And all of those things really got me out of my funk and created this amazing life. And I will tell you, like, trauma after trauma is what made the decisions and how we ended up selling the company to begin with. So it's just like the trauma is how we created it. The trauma is also how we sold it. So it's just one thing after another. But, sometimes I feel like the rejection we feel is, I'm pretty faith-based. That wasn't always. I didn't grow up with religion. So that happened in 2015. But sometimes I feel like the rejection we feel is just God's protection and redirection. And we don't know what it is until many years later. And now I can look back and go, wow, that's what that was for. That's what that pain was for.
All right. Well, that's a great note to stop. We're just going to take a quick break here at WMTR Radios and Nothing But the Truth. We'll be right back.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
All right, welcome back to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth. So, listen, the story is, look, inspirational. They started with Victor versus victim. Your story and your honesty and vulnerability with regard to how you initially were not dealing with this and how eventually you came to it. I was about to ask you, you sound like a spiritual person to me, and you answered that. So I have so many questions I want to ask, but I do want to dig deeper into this. Like, you just talked about that company that was just bought by Pepsi, and like the first thing that came into my brain is like, yeah, it's great now until the Pepsi gets a hold of it and decides to dump a bunch of additives. And you talked about the United States. Why is it that in this country, I was watching something the other day where it showed Gatorade 30 years ago, Gatorade's ingredients today, chips 30 years ago, chips today. It's literally extraordinary to me. We all know this stuff is killing us. How does this country, is it part of a process to purposely make people sick in order to be able to treat them? Honestly, you have to ask, how is this going on?
Now you're sounding like what some people call me, a conspiracy theorist. But yes, I believe the United States, it's all about money, right? So for me, okay, I sold a majority of my company in 2019. So I'll use my own experience of what happened. Those venture capitalists, big food people, big names, big brands in the past, they were looking at one thing. Like, we built that company on customer service and the customer experience. They were looking at one thing: margins. They didn't like my margins. I had good margins. I sold it. I had EBITDA. I had good margins. I was one of the top 4% women back in 2019 to get an 8-figure deal in the food industry. So it was a big deal. But they said, we will never let go of your team. You will always be on the board, and we will never change the recipe. And none of those things happened. They fired my team, they put me on sabbatical, they changed the recipe. So the margins weren't good enough. So I think sometimes that happens, and they've got to make it cheaper. And you hope that when they scale, those margins get better, but sometimes they don't. And I think, in my opinion, honestly, if you look at, and you're lawyers, so I'm not going to say too much here, but if you look at some of the brands that own some of our companies, food companies, some of the food products, they also own some of the diabetic medications as well. So isn't that interesting? Because the food product they own actually causes diabetes, but then they also own the cure. So there is a lot of that going on. I think it's going to get cleaned up with this administration. I don't want to go down politics, but they're bringing awareness already to it. So I think that I'm hoping that some things change, because, for example, my daughter studied abroad in Italy. I went over to Italy. I ate a pizza. I was like, I'm going to test this theory out. A lot of people tell me you can eat whatever you want over there and you're not going to feel inflamed. And for a short time, we did cauliflower pasta and we imported it in from Italy. So I was over there and I ate pizza, had no problems, zero problems, no inflammation. But their flours are very different than our flour that they use.
But
They don't allow.
I think that's an example that a lot of people don't know. And Dave, I don't think we've ever talked about it. I literally had a study. I mean, go on Google and whatever, because I experienced exactly what you're saying. And so did everybody. We went to Italy a couple of times when I was president of this organization, and we were talking about how we were eating pasta and pizza, and nobody was gaining weight. Nobody felt inflamed. Everybody fit in their clothes. And then one of the pasta brands is that they are very big in Italy is here. But one of the Italian guys said, "Oh, no, we never eat it in America because your wheat is stripped of its nutrition and chemicals and additives." And so the same company produces and uses different wheat. In Italy, it's safe to consume and good for you, and here it's not. And I hope you're right about whatever the politics is of this. It's becoming something that we're going to change. But is there a place right now where people like me can go to say, hey, I want to go to the store today and I want to get healthy products with healthy companies that we can go to find out where that is?
I wish I would have created this because it's pretty genius. But Bobby Flav, he has an app. And so you literally can scan anything in the grocery store and he'll tell you if it's Bobby approved. And he's a very clean, like when we had Cauliflower, he did a story on us organically. We did not pay him at Walmart because Walmart was cleaning up. They were doing a healthy frozen section and our product was in there. And so he was showing the difference between our product and our competitor. And we were Bobby approved. They were not. I love that app since then, because that was back in 2018. Since then, he has added so many more benefits. So there are a lot of apps out there. But again, I just really think you have to not only look at the ingredients and make sure you can understand them and read them and know what they mean, but look at who's behind the products. It's interesting because there's a lady on Instagram, I believe she's on Facebook too, called Food Babe. And she's been on the news recently. She is calling Kellogg's out. Kellogg's cereals have dye in them, red dye. We know what red dye causes here in the country. Like we know that is really bad. It causes cancer. It causes all kinds of, they think autism and other conditions. They don't have it in any other countries. Same kind of cereal, Kellogg's, same maker, totally different ingredients. So, and that's current. That's not, 20 years ago. So there are people like Food Babe and Bobby that are calling these people out. They are using apps. And I think that helps. And then I just think common sense, like really just look at the products. I know next year I always buy Siete Foods. I will be looking to see if Pepsi changes those ingredients. I hope they don't. A lot of these big brands are saying that they are not going to be doing that anymore. Nestle is one of them. Nestle is saying they're not going to be changing the ingredients. They're going to keep it clean. So I hope that's true.
I heard you on Catherine Gordon's podcast. Catherine's been on the show. Yeah, Catherine's been on the show. And we love them both as well. I mean, John has been an inspiration for me personally. His books, Energy Boss and The One Truth and all these things. And I wondered too, I heard a little John Gordon out of you. I heard a little Tony Robbins. Who are the people that you look up to in this space, who read, follow, and watch?
Yeah, that's a great question. Different people for different things. So definitely Catherine and John for just that inspiration, that the energy bus is great, how to incorporate faith, how to lean into your faith. They are in a mastermind I'm in. So I highly recommend putting yourself into those places. I believe your business grows as fast as you grow. So I'm always in a mastermind and I have been for years. And so I joined this mastermind. They're in it. John often teaches to the group. So I'm always right there. I've read their books. I had dinner with Catherine. She's amazing. I've done weekend retreats with her. So definitely in the faith base, that would be, they would definitely be people that are mentors of mine. In the business space, I've been in just strictly business masterminds where I've learned from people that have done what I've done, but they've already gone to exit in bigger and better ways. So I've always had mentors like, I have this one guy that's just, nobody would know who he is, but he did a lot in the food industry 20 years ago. And so learning from him and learning what to do and what not to do was really helpful. He ended up being on my advisory board. So just putting yourself in the rooms with people that have done what you want to do, but in bigger and better ways. And the thing is, I used to, when I was very first food show I ever went to, this particular guy, Bob, came up to me and started talking to me. Well, he started asking me questions that I could not answer, and I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to say I couldn't answer. So I'm like, I have to go and use the restroom, excuse me. And then I hid in the restroom the rest of the night. I was too afraid to admit that I didn't know what he was talking about because he was using acronyms in the food industry and I didn't know. Later, it came out many years later, he said, I thought you were just really stuck up. I was like, oh my gosh. No, I was just really embarrassed. He goes, here's one lesson. People love to help people that are hungry, humble, and they're willing to ask for help. And I know that's true in all businesses. So looking for those people that you feel comfortable to go up to and just ask for help, people are going to help. I help people all the time now. I love helping people, especially women in business. So definitely looking for those people that have done what you want to do. For example, I have Soursop Nutrition now, which is a supplement. I found the fruit. It's grown in other parts of the world. It's not grown in the United States. I found it as a holistic way to help my mom. She was diagnosed with cancer. I've reconnected with my mom. I bonded with her. She's now sick. I want to take care of her. And so somebody I met at a mastermind sat next to me. We started talking and she told me about this fruit, Soursop. Her daughter had cancer. We can't promote it for cancer, but if I was going to give it to my mom, I was going to take it as well. And I saw what it did for my inflammation. And then my daughter started eating it and she's in college and she gets that college anxiety, and especially before tests, and she started eating the fruit and it was helping her. So I was like, there's got to be a way to make this available for the masses. So I found somebody that had created a supplement company, happened to be somebody in my mastermind. I met with him multiple times. He became a mentor and he's ended up selling his supplement company for 9 figures and has done very well. And that company has gone on to help millions of people because it's not just a supplement. Right now, people can just throw out supplements. There's not a lot of regulation there. So it's important, again, to look at the story behind the supplements, the science, like we're doing a double-blind placebo-controlled study right now to prove the results that we see within our community as well as our family and friends. So yeah, I think it's important. This is a very long answer to your question without giving the specific names. I always say be in rooms with people that have done what you want to do and always be in a mastermind.
I think that's the best thing that has come from COVID is this virtual communities, these virtual communities that are available for those that want to learn, for those that want to connect. I mean, you want to do something like right now, we're the same way. We were down in Miami last week with a community of attorneys trying to improve services for marketing and sales and for the fulfillment and service for our clients. And I think we're in the gold rush, honestly, gold rush of technology. Just being able to connect with people like you, Amy, and Catherine Gordon, and John Gordon, and Brendan Burchard. And
that's another one I look up to, and I do go to his events, and I was in his mastermind at one point. Yeah, he's another one. Right? Tony Robbins, of course, we all started Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins was a great inspiration. He still is. I still enjoy going to his events. I live in Florida, so a lot of his events are held in Florida. I'm in Miami a lot too. I don't live in Miami, but it's about virtual, but also building the community, being in a community. And for sales, I really believe more than spending money on ads. Like if you have a community here that's listening that is trying to build a business or they're trying to figure out how to sell, build your community. build a community, and that's how you sell. That's why it's so important to have an email list. That's our second largest revenue is our email list and our organic, our groups that we've built. Way more profitable than ad spend.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about this all the time. Unfortunately for us, though, that's going to have to come. You got to come back. I got to know more. You got to let us know when you've supplements, places to go. I'm going crazy. I'm tired of going scrolling. I need somebody I could trust. And you're that person.
Let me send you our stuff.
Yeah.
Let me send you stuff. And then I don't know if it's appropriate, and I guess you can cut this out if it isn't, but I use the SWOT analysis all the time now to make decisions. I don't have great discernment. It's not I trust everybody. It's a problem. So I use the SWOT analysis. Don't know if you guys understand or know what that is. A lot of people don't. I'm surprised. It's basic.
You could say it. Yeah, the SWOT. What does SWOT stand for?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so I use that, and you can even plug it into AI. I have an AI tool that I use too, but I put my voice into AI so that it sounds like me. I've asked AI to ask me, I've told them about my business, ask me 50 questions. I fill it out. I go back to that sheet every time when I write an email, a post, I want to know something. So it understands my business and it has my voice. So I have 2 of those tools. Happy to give those to your viewers if they want to reach out to me. Happy to do that. They can reach out on my Instagram too.
Yeah, we'll put those definitely, but where can they find you real quick?
Yeah, so I manage all of my Instagram, which is why it probably looks like a hot mess. But if you DM me, I'll respond to you. And it's Hey Amy Lacey, HeyAmyLacey. Also, if you go to Living Be Me, that's our website. I'm in there. I love getting to know my customers, so you can reach out to me through Living Be Me. Join our emails. They're coming from me. If you respond to them, I'll respond back to you. Yeah. And
awesome.
I love talking to my customers.
All right, amazing.
Isn't it amazing, though? We have these platforms that we can reach the masses, right? One to many. And that's how you found me. I saw you on Catherine Gordon's podcast. I'm like, this is somebody we need for Nothing But the Truth.
All right, we're going to have to end it there, guys. Sorry. I hate to be the guy that puts a stop to this, but we could certainly talk afterwards or have you back. We'd love to do that. You're listening to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth. Bob Bianchi, Dave Bruno. Radio shows every Saturday at 9:30. Dave podcast.
Nothing But the Truth podcast is the website where we have all of our prior episodes. We take video. We're taking video here with Amy. So you can get that video on YouTube and in the podcast the next Wednesday on iTunes and Spotify.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I'd love to come back.
Take care, Amy. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're the Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said...
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
To get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.